We will be inviting Ms. Roseline Fong, President of Financial Planning Association of Singapore, FIPAS, to share with us a little bit more about it. FIPAS is a non-profit professional organization dedicated to developing and promoting an industry that provides unbiased financial advice to the Singaporean public. Ms. Roseline has had over 2 decades of experience in financial planning and wealth management. She currently specializes in wealth management in HSBC Private Bank. So let's invite Ms. Roseline Fong, please.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you all had a good lunch. Now, the session after lunchtime can usually be a little bit challenging because I will be fighting with the ZZ monster for your attention for the next 30 minutes over a topic that may not be exactly the most exciting. Okay, but I do hope that you'll be able to gain some value out of this and be able to take away with you something that you might be able to apply to your life straight away. So my topic today is on the gig economy. Is there hope for retirement? Now, so who is responsible for your retirement? As the saying goes, the only person who will take care of the older person you will someday be is the younger person you are now. So I will break my segment into 5 sections today. The first one, we will cover who are the most vulnerable in this gig economy. 2 is what are the CPF schemes that are available to this particular group of people, and why should they look at the CPF schemes? How should they then tap into the CPF schemes for their benefit? And lastly, when should they do it? Tomorrow, next month, or next year? Okay, so as what they have introduced just now, right, the self-employed are actually the most vulnerable right now in the gig economy. More and more people are taking on jobs that are inconsistent, and therefore the income is irregular. On top of that, there's no employer CPF contribution. The only mandatory CPF contribution that they have to do is on MediSave account, and that is only 4 to 10% depending on your age and your income. They do not have annual leave, they have no medical leave, no hospitalization leave, no medical benefits. So if they were to take leave, right, take time off to run some errands or they fall sick, then there's an opportunity cost involved. So assuming an employee and a self-employed has the same income, in actual fact, a self-employed is actually earning 30% less on an annual basis simply because of no CPF contribution by the employer and there's no annual leave. Now, before this gets a little bit depressing for the self-employed that are tuning in, of course, there are perks to being a self-employed. There could be months that maybe your income doubles, maybe you get more jobs or you got a new project, right? And of course, there's also the time flexibility that you can manage to optimize it. Now let's go on to what are the CPF schemes. Now before I dive into the schemes, I'd like to give an overview, which I believe Lorna and Georgina just now in the morning, they have covered quite extensively. So the CPF is made out of 3 accounts: ordinary, MediSave, and special account. Right, so ordinary account can be used for your housing, insurance, investment, and education. MediSave account only for hospitalization expenses and approved medical insurance. And lastly, your special account is only meant for your old age and retirement-related financial products. Today, our talk is on retirement, so we will focus mainly on your special account. There's another account called the retirement account, but that will only be formed when you are age 55, when your ordinary account and your special account will join together to form it. So whenever in the presentation, you hear the word retirement account, it's referring to people that are age 55 and above. If you hear the word special account, then it's referring to people that are less than 55. Right, so let's go into the schemes now. The first one, for self-employed, there is a compulsory contribution to MediSave account. So like it or not, you have to contribute. And as what we previously mentioned, it's about 4 to 10% depending on your age and your income. But you get a tax relief out of this. Now, this account is absolutely necessary because it's to pay for your hospitalization plans, we talk about your insurance hospitalization plans, and you avoid a situation where huge medical bills may wipe out your retirement funds. So if you have not upgraded your MediShield Life, which is the default plan, right? If you have not upgraded it to an integrated shield plans, please do so, because having a good hospitalization plan is absolutely a necessity today. Okay. Now, the second option is you can do a voluntary top-ups to all your 3 CPF accounts. Now, but this method means that whatever that you contribute, it will be split between the 3 accounts based on certain allocation. You can't choose. So, and only 16 to 21% will go to special account. But the advantage of doing this is while you're paying for your mortgage payment from your ordinary account, it will still earn up to 3.5%. The keyword is up to, which we will expound on this later. Now, and the MediSave account, the portion that goes to MediSave account, can be used to offset your compulsory MediSave payable as a self-employed. In other words, if you were to do a voluntary top-up, it doesn't mean you have to double contribute to your MediSave account, because whatever goes in will be to offset what you have to pay as a self-employed anyway to the MediSave. Okay, however, this option is non-tax deductible. Now, the third option is, let's focus in on your special or retirement account, where you use the retirement sum topping up scheme. You get a tax relief of up to 14K, 7K for yourself, and if you want to top up your loved one's account, you can do so as well. You get another 7K tax relief. Now, maybe some of you looking at this might look at this and say, wow, up to 6% sounds good. So maybe I borrow from the bank, or maybe I get a windfall. I like to top up as much as I want. However, there's a restriction. You can only top up to the prevailing full retirement or enhanced retirement sum, again, depending on your age. So if you're below 55 this year, you can top up to 186K. We're talking about 2021. But if you're above 55, then the enhanced retirement sum applies to you. So this is your maximum you can top up, right? But it doesn't mean, so when we look at the full retirement sum, currently is 186. But every year, it actually go up by 3% to cater for inflation. So assuming if you're 55, you're less than 55, and you already have 186K, right? In, let's say, maybe 2 years later, when the sum goes up, you can top up again. Now, and lastly, I just wanted to mention that for ordinary account, if you are not using your ordinary account for mortgage payment and you happen to have some funds that are still lying inside, then you may want to consider just transferring them to the special account, okay, because you get an interest rate of up to 5%. However, it is irreversible, so do it only if you are very sure you will not need it for your mortgage payment. Okay, now the next one is, what about older self-employed? I cannot see the audience that are logging in today, but I would assume most of you are less than 55 years old. But in case there are some of you that are more than 55, right, I just wanted to just mention briefly that there is a match retirement savings scheme, okay, to help senior Singaporeans, right, that has less than the basic retirement sum in their CPF today, right, where if you top up, the government will top up $1 matching grant for every dollar that you put in, up to a cap of 600. Okay, it's not a lot, but, well, it's better than nothing. And you enjoy attractive CPF rates of up to 6%. You don't have to apply for this because it will be, your eligibility will be assessed automatically. So if you do receive a letter from CPF, please don't throw away. Take a look at it, yeah, and it might be worth for you to just do a top-up for the next 5 years. Okay, I won't go into the details of whether you're eligible or not, because CPF will decide this for you. Now, the last one I want to talk about is the lease buyback scheme. Now, this is something that I think it can be very vital to the older generation who are closing into retirement. It's not a CPF scheme, but it works hand in hand with CPF. Basically, what it does is it allows you to monetize your HDB property that you're currently living in to enjoy a stream of income while staying in it. Because in order to encash into your CPF, into your property, most people have to sell it. But when you sell it, you still have to buy another property anyway. Yeah, so this one, this scheme means that you can tap into your flat while continuing to live in it. Now, besides, the proceeds from the sale of the flat lease, it's not something that you can get up in lump sum. It will be used to top up your retirement account, which will then be auto-enrolled into CPF Life, which is a annuity that will pay you an income for life. Okay, again, I won't go into the details of whether you are eligible or not. Yeah, so this one, you can find more information on the HDB website. Okay, my poll question number 1. What is your number 1 obstacle when planning for retirement? Is it procrastination? Not sure what to do because there's insufficient information? Fear of making the wrong decision? Or too busy? No time? Okay. Yeah, I think we got the most votes for fear of making the wrong decision, followed by procrastination. Yeah, so I'm glad then most of you are here for the fear of making the wrong decision, because when you have a fear of making the wrong decision, it's usually because you have insufficient information as well. So once you get enough information, then I hope it will increase your confidence on making that decision. If not, you can seek some financial advice from some of those certified financial planner or someone who is qualified and competent to give you financial advice, right? Now, let's go on to why self-employed should contribute to their CPF. Okay, to enhance the retirement savings of Singaporeans, right, extra interest is actually paid on the first 60K of your combined balances, capped at 20K for OA. Just now in some of my slides, you may have saw this up to 5%, up to 6%. This is what it's referring to. If you're less than 55, you actually get extra 1% on your first 60K. Okay, and if you are 55 and above, you actually get up to 6%, which is, I don't know about you, but I think it's pretty decent, right? And again, maybe you might feel that, oh, if I get a windfall, I like to, top up as much as I want. Even if you want more, there is also a limit. So the maximum amount of mandatory and voluntary contributions that you can make in a calendar year is capped at the CPF annual limit of 37,740. So if you do suddenly get a big project, right, and then you get a lump sum of money, maybe you might want to consider doing this. Okay, because there's a limit anyway. Yeah. Okay, let's go on about our CPF. Now, in 2020 Mercer CFA Institute Global Pension Index report, sounds quite a bit of a mouthful, but it basically compares 39 retirement income systems, which covers 2/3 of the world's population. And Singapore retains status as Asia's top retirement system, and it is in 7th place overall. If you look at the picture on the right, you will notice that out of all the countries listed there is no Asia country except Singapore. Okay, we were ranked 7 for adequacy, 11 for integrity, 12 for sustainability. It was all higher than the global average. So CPF is a world-class retirement income system, in case you didn't know about it. And CPF money are invested in special Singapore government securities guaranteed by the government. Of course, the guarantee is useless if the guarantor is of no quality, right? Yeah, so our Singapore government is actually one of the few remaining AAA credit-rated governments in the world today. So you enjoy risk-free interest on your CPF savings, right? And as a disclaimer, I just want to say I don't work for CPF. They did not pay me to say this, neither did they ask me to say this. This is purely based on my own research and my personal opinion. So in Chinese, there's this phrase that says that 眼在天边，近在眼前. So you don't have to search, high and low for a fantastic investment right in front of you. The CPF system, okay, is something that you can look into. Why is the CPF so successful? Now, basically because it addresses 2 biases that is inherent in every human being, which is first the self-control bias, and 2, procrastination. In our previous poll, the second reason why people did not plan for retirement is procrastination, and that is perfectly normal, okay? So status quo basically means we don't want to rock the boat, so if, basically it's that comfort zone that you want to stay in. So what the CPF does is if people do nothing, they are automatically enrolled rather than being left out. Unfortunately, this does not apply to the self-employed, and that's why we are on this topic today. So a successful program has to be, number 1, it has to be consistent. 2, it has to be automatic if possible. 3, systematic. All right, systematic means you need to have a certain formula in your mind, how many % you want to contribute out of your income. And as what we mentioned earlier, at age 55, your OA and your SA will combine to form the retirement account. And what they do is, at 55, once your retirement account is formed, there is a basic retirement sum that will be minused away, and then the balance, you can withdraw it now. You can withdraw the balance. Now, for the basic retirement sum, what they do is they will auto-enroll it into CPF Life. So the key word here is the word auto-enroll. So if you do nothing, they will still enroll you into the CPF Life, which will provide you a lifetime income at age 65. Okay, now, so let's go on to the how. So a successful system, like what we mentioned, must address status quo and self-control bias. So consistency. Perhaps you could set a perpetual monthly reminder on your phone, right? Every time you get your income, which day, then set a reminder on your phone to do the contribution. You can also automate your CPF top-ups through Giro and set a formula for every paycheck. Is it 10 to 15%? Depending on, maybe your circumstances. Now, as the income is not regular for self-employed, right, perhaps you could set a lower uncompromising amount first. Because I know it's hard to automate when your income is irregular. So perhaps you set the amount first, okay, at least there's a baseline. And then if this month maybe your income is higher, then you can do top-ups along the way. Because you can top up as and when you want. And there are convenient options available. You have PayNow, you have eNets, and probably a lot of you are familiar with GrabPay. So now instead of GrabPay, you just CPF Pay. It's the same thing. Okay, so the first step is always the toughest because of status quo bias. But once you get started, then use this bias to work in your favor, because once you start on it, unlikely you will change it. Okay, so when should you do this? Now, if you have an investment amount of 200K today, annual rate of return of 5%, investment horizon of 15 years, let's make a guess, doubling which variable will grow your money the most? If you double your investment amount to 400K, or you double the rate of return to 10%, or you double your time period from 15 to 30 years. So that's my next poll question. Doubling which variable will grow your money the most? Okay, in the interest of time, I will stop the poll. And congratulations, most of you got it right. It's to double your investment horizon, followed by the second group that say double the annual rate of return. Now, so when was the best time? Yesterday, because compounding interest works best with time. So when you double your investment amount what it actually means, right, this chart is, if you were to wait later than a friend who started earlier, right? Even if you double your investment amount to 400K, you still cannot catch up. The second column shows that if you can find an investment that pays you double the rate of return at 10%, you still cannot catch up to somebody who basically just started earlier than you, right? Now, so the beauty about CPF, I would say, is that they have actually help you to decide how much should you save for retirement by using desired monthly payouts from age 65 using the CPF Life Standard Plan. So let's look at the last row, okay, which is about 2,000 per month or so, right? So this chart tells you that if you want to get an income of about 2,000 plus, right, when you retire at 65, the savings that you will need at age 55 is 279. So if you can accumulate 279 at age 55, and you leave the money in your CPF account, by age 65, it will just grow automatically to 415 simply because of the compounding interest of 4%. That is how compounding interest can work its magic for you. Now, so I just wanted to show, this is more like a guide to show you how much do you need to invest to achieve your goals, right? Now, if today you are age 35, if today you are age 35, currently, when you reach 55 years old, which is 20 years later, your enhanced retirement sum is not 279, by the way. It will be about 500K because of the 3% inflation. So just give an example here. If you were to start savings today, right? And then you want to accumulate 500K, let's say at 65, you have to put aside 8,500. Now, if you were to wait 15 years later, then of course you have to put in more. And lastly, if you wait longer, then of course it's quite a climb. So this picture basically tells you, the longer you wait, then it will be tougher for you to save to what you would like to achieve. Now, no wonder Albert Einstein calls compounding interest the eighth wonder of the world. This chart basically tells you that if today you were to start saving at 30K a year for 10 years, 10 years later you decide to stop, you would have invested 300K, and then you do nothing for the next 20 years, you just let the money compound in your CPF account, it will grow up to 1 million. Now, assuming you have a friend, then maybe the first 10 years the friend decides to splurge, and today that friend happens to attend this session today, and he realized that, oh, I better start. So he starts savings 30K, same as you, but he goes on for another 20 years, that's double of what you save, 600K. But unfortunately, he's still not able to catch up simply because he started later. Okay, so is there a cost of doing nothing? Will there be a day that will come when you realize that you are responsible for decisions that you did not even make? Right? As you have seen in the previous example, you can pay more and yet receive less. You can achieve a better rate of return and still receive less. So in life, there's always a cost. There's a cost of taking action. There's also a cost of waiting and doing nothing. Right? So how much will doing nothing cost you? So I'll use the previous example, the one with the slope. So if you want to achieve 500K for the next 30 years, you only have to save 8,500 a year at 4%, okay, which is what the special account is giving you. So your total investment is 255K. Now, if you were to wait 15 years later, then you need to put in a total of 360K. The difference over 10 years. The difference over 15 years is 7K a year. So the cost of waiting is actually 7K a year, which is about $600 a month. How I derive this figure is basically, you have the same final goal, but now you have to pay more. So that to you is a cost. Now, I come to near the end of my presentation, and I hope that you have managed to gain some value out of it. Now, we talk about status quo bias, right, which is, like what I say, something that's very inherent in everyone. Now, it is similar to the Newton law of motion, right? What does Newton law of motion say? It states that an object that is at rest or, will likely stay at rest unless an external force is applied to it, unless an external force is applied to it. And I hope that I was able to be the external force today to move you to take the first step towards your retirement. Yeah, so at the end of the day, you don't have to search high and low for, all the fanciful, exciting, sexy investment funds out there. Just stick to CPF first, and if you have extra, then sure, you may want to look at other options, right? And lastly, I just wanted to say that some of the opinions expressed here are for general information because I do not have your situation, I do not have any of your personal circumstances or your finances. So whatever that I've shared so far is generic. If you would like more detailed planning, we recommend you may want to seek professional advice from a CFP or someone who is authorized and competent to provide financial advice for you. So once again, thank you very much for attending this webinar. Right, okay, do I have time? Okay, I have some time, so let's see. Is it advisable for self-employed individuals to top up to the 37K to CPF, or should he use this amount to pay for the house so as to avoid the accrued interest? Okay. Now, when you actually top up to the, I would say that you might want to make sure you have money for your house, for your mortgage first before you top up to CPF, because now the option of topping up to CPF gives you a higher interest, and then whatever cash, right, that you have, you can use to pay for your mortgage, because the accrued interest that CPF, so-called the accrued interest, only applies when you are at 55 and above, because that's when they have to set aside the retirement sum, and they will actually let you use your property to offset. Okay, I'm not sure if I answered your question. I'm not sure who is this. But, can you withdraw all the balance money from OA and SA after you set aside the full CPF life amount? Yes, you can. Now, but it's actually, you can take out as long as you set aside the basic. So the government is actually quite generous. There is 3 retirement sum. You have the basic retirement sum, which is 93K. You have the full retirement sum, which is twice the basic retirement sum, and you have the enhanced retirement sum, which is 3 times. So the criteria is you just have to set aside the basic, and then you can withdraw the rest. But but of course, our advice is, if you can, don't just go for basic, because if you just set aside basic, on top of that you use part of it, right, to use as a property to exempt you, then actually your CPF life amount will be very little. Yeah, so you got to really weigh as well. Now, last one, what if someone does not have time? What other solution is available for retirement planning? Thank you for asking this question. I believe you are probably somebody that is maybe more than 55 years old, and that was why I mentioned about the lease buyback scheme. If you have a HDB property, you might want to explore this, because that is really something you can tap into. Yeah, I think my time is running up. Yeah, I hope I managed to answer some of your questions. If not, please feel free to reach out to Precepts, and they can direct the questions to me. Thank you very much.